Oh my god, well, aren't you beauty? Aren't you a beaut? Oh my god. If you were livestock and I were a rancher, that's how I'd refer to you, you gorgeous humans, you. I don't know, maybe there's some animals watching. Either way, hello and welcome to Day 9 Daily number 578, where we learn to be a better gamer. I got the Protoss shirt on. Ooh, feeling so good, because today we're going to be doing a little bit of LiquidHero analysis action, because LiquidHero is awesome. In today's daily, I actually have an outline of everything we're going to do. You know what? Screw announcements. I'm going to hop right into the damn show. Yeah. In this daily, we are going to examine the notion of attacking a lot in Protoss vs. Terran. Generally, this is the matchup where it is considered least good to do frequent attacks from the Protoss side of things. And there's a whole lot of issues and problems that can end up arising. I don't know if a plane is crashing, but I don't know. It's certainly substantially louder than what I would have thought. Wow, that's a loud plane. You shouldn't attack that much in PvT, right? That's what I always think. And then I watch Hero play, and he attacks a lot. So we're going to watch two games. One that where the attacking goes magnificently, one where the attacking goes less than magnificently. And we're going to see a lot of some cool techniques arise. There's not going to be a lot of build order specifics in this. It's more going to be the idea of feeling the game out. Now, a general notion of why you shouldn't attack is that it messes with your build order. It's very easy to have really specific builds, really specific timing set out if you're defending. That's way more straightforward, because if he attacks, that's the only time you build units. The rest of the time, smoothly going along with the build. Not when you're Hero. So you can't just sort of follow along with what your plan was. And this is probably the most common thing I'll see when a player tries to mimic a pro build. A pro's playing defensively and goes for, say, fast Colossus and 2 Forges with double upgrades. And the Protoss player will be like, oh, I want to mimic that. They hop on the ladder, they see a window to attack, so they take it. And they might do some damage, but then all of the Colossus Forge stuff is so slow that they lose a little bit later, and yet have no idea why. So we're going to go ahead and look at some cool things. So, the first concept we want to begin with, big thing that's going to be discussed today, the notion of forcing your opponent to do something, attacking or applying pressure, is the #1 best way to force your opponent to do a response. Now, this is what I mean by forcing. When we say forcing, it means that unless he does the thing we force him to do, he dies. So, really simply, if I am getting a whole lot of Mutalisks against a Protoss, it forces the Protoss to either get Blink Stalkers or Phoenixes. It really forces him to do one of those two. He can't really go Masked Sentry. He can't really go Tempests. If he tries to go Zealot, Archon, Colossus and attack me, I just go kill him. So again, there are opportunities to do other things, but they're not forced to do that. An example of not forcing would be the reverse. Say it's Protoss vs. Zerg, and I open Phoenixes. So I get maybe 4 or 5 Phoenixes. This will discourage my opponent from getting Mutalisks, but he still can get a couple Corruptors and then a whole bunch of Mutas and continue to apply pressure. So I have forced him not to do some really fast Mutalisk timing. I have forced him to either do late Mutas or Hydras or Infestors. So there's some examples of forcing. We're going to see the Protoss player here do a lot of forcing in here. We'll look at some cool early attack timings that Hero will use. We'll, most importantly, notice how he's adjusting the build order back home in the base. And then we'll see Hero win in some seemingly unwinnable situations. Let me just note that if you actually go to day9.tv, there's a link to all the replays here. So here's day9.tv. Just go to this daily show, which of course is going to be in the archive if you're watching this in the archive. But you click there, and then you'll see this giant mutant on the face, which will oftentimes be me. And then here is all the information that we just discussed, and there's the link to the replays that you can go to. Also, big shout out to Little Big 11, who does these awesome full screen images, and if you zoom in, there's like me and a husky are some of the images. You can see there's some Tempests in there, some Hellbats. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and do the usual shenaniganry. I would like to note how epic it is that I have the sound enabled. Woo, yeah. So we're going to go through this entire game in part 1 and do another game in part 2 and 3. This is going to be the shorter of the two. So Hero's going to do some pretty suave, neat things just with his general build order. Protoss players are valuing gas a lot more early. Actually, it's kind of this weird thing where Protoss used to kind of have like a curve like this for when they got gas. They didn't really have that much, and then they built a sentry, and then they got a lot of gas to get sentries and upgrades in Colossus. And now it has this like, we need a lot of gas for the Stalker and the Mothership Core, and then we don't really need that much, because we don't even need sentries. We have a Mothership Core for defense. And now we need all those upgrades again. So it's kind of this U-curve. So we'll see a lot of the U-curviness in every Protoss build. So Hero, both these games are going to be on Neoplanet S, which is a really weird map given these circular formations. We talked a little bit in yesterday's daily about considering when to get up a third base, how to get up a third base, and those sorts of considerations. We won't be doing those as much. I want to focus instead on Das attacking. So here's Hero going for the double assimilator on 15. Almost on 16. Some players like to wait till 16 to do this anyways. Just as a really technical note, this chrono boost right here will prevent you from getting a nice timing on your first zealot. Because it lets you build probes extra fast. It will also slightly botch your timing on your first cybernetics core. So for instance right here, we see gateway's done, and a good chunk of time passes before we can get the cybernetics core. It's like another 7 or 8 seconds. It's not violent, but I certainly made it sound violent. Made it sound horrible. I made it sound just downright awful. Don't you dare chrono boost then. What do you want? Minerals? Pfft. Build a cybernetics core where you can't come to the lunch table. The threats he lords over. Oh, Yanan's gonna be a wonderful father. I will not salt your foods if you do not do as I order, son. No, Dad, not non-salty food. I'm an American. So some kind of funky scout pathing going on from Hero. Just wants to do some things like, actually I don't even really know. This is just generally a very common position to hide a Stargate. It's also kind of a common position if you want to go for one barracks here and another barracks there for pressure, but he didn't scout it all the way out, so I don't know. I really don't have any damn clue. So I'm not entirely positive what that probe's scout purpose was here, and I'm fine with that. With this early timing where we go Stalker and then Cybernetics Core, you'll notice we have plenty of gas to get a Mothership, and even to get out a second Stalker or a Sentry if need be. And I think he goes Sentry and then cancels and gets a second Stalker. Yeah, cool. Very often, players are opening with this exact opening. And notice, very importantly, once the Mothership Core is started, or once the funds for the Mothership Core are there, one guy is pulled out of each gas down to 2. There's the Mothership Core. It wasn't quite showing up on the pause. But yeah, once Mothership Core gets started, pop those guys out of gas. Double Stalker, single Mothership Core, I would say is the foundation for good aggressive build order logic. He can't scout us. We have a full range of opportunities. Literally every Protoss build in existence is still available to us, except cannon rushing. So this is great. We can still go Oracle as Protoss, we can still expand, and then get a Sentry as Protoss, we can still throw down 2 more gateways, and do a lot of pressure, and then take a base, we can go Robo, anything at all. So, Hero is up against the Terran strategy du jour. This is just like what all Terrans have been doing. They go for somewhat of an early gas, and they get 2 Marines, and then build a reactor. And then they go for a command center and a factory. In this way, what happens is it builds up to this Marine mine drop, and then you eventually transition back into Marine Marauder Medevac. So this is basically a, let's get a bunch of units up that are all a good mix of tech as Terran, and put on a little pressure. So Hero And pretty much any Protoss in this situation has a big opportunity. We can easily use this Mothership Core to get vision up on the high ground. Notice that close to, when Hero needs to build this extra pylon, first piece to this aggression, remember that scouting probe that I didn't quite know why it went all the way down here and then back up? Well, he's building a pylon right away. Number one, actually Naniwa says the number one thing you should always have in PvT is a forward pylon, or a probe to build a forward pylon. Both Hero and Naniwa are sensational at getting those pylons up. So great, Hero has this little setup. A single sentry, very common, very typical. Now, when most players see this sort of tech-based play, which Hero knows because he sees a reactor, they will opt to throw down a robotics facility right away. However, given this information, think about the things that are apparent. He is either going for fast factory for Widow Mines, or there's a second barracks there. So Hero, interestingly, after spending a little bit of time microing, and this is a very common bait, to have your stalkers on the low ground, and then to draw out with a single time warp. And to kill him! So already this is nice. Now another thing I want to note is that we spent energy on a time warp, which means we can't do the really thin defenses that most Protosses are doing. Most Protosses are like going Robo and Double Forge before they add on Gateways 2 and 3 because they have the Photon Overcharge. Now, Hero does not have the Photon Overcharge. So these Gateways are both needed for defense, but also as an opportunity for the offense. That offenses. The Ophacnes, as they are often called. And I really like this because this probe has been on a noteworthy journey. I'll come back to this 550 mark. Right as Hero throws down this time warp, and it's clear that there's going to be some severe bonering of Marines going on, this probe begins to make his way down. It's almost like the time warp is the signal that there's a nice opportunity here. So let's get that probe up there to build a forward pylon, even before the gateways have been constructed. The incredible probe journey. Get in there, probe. Yeah, take him out, probe. So now our Terran buddy is in kind of a predicament. Certainly because he lost a lot of Marines. He's in kind of a significant issue area. But also, even if he had not lost those Marines, how exactly does he begin commencing this attack? Obviously, a robo facility to permit us to get detection is pretty important. But Hero is like refusing to leave this area. And this is the sort of thing that I find to be so dangerous because Mothership Cores are just stupid. They get themselves killed like constantly. Now, Elige looked like he may have done something slightly suicidal. Maybe he lost a little bit more than he needed to, but he really just desperately needs control of this frontal area. So we can see now, 3 gates only really makes sense if we can actually get into this position. This is clearly a good angle and good opportunity, and Elige sees it, but I mean, what can he really do about it? So just continued warp-ins from the back, with the Observer coming out. So there's the medevac trying to go do a drop, but Hero just has the 6 pressure. The 6 pressure. Mines actually also suck against lots of gateway units, because you throw in, early on, mines suck against someone who has a lot of gateways. Because once the first mine goes off and kills a zealot, you just have a tiny amount of Marines versus a lot of gateway units. So this is certainly going well for Hero, in a lot of ways. Obviously, he's delayed this expansion, he's killed off not an amazing amount of workers, but a solid amount. 26 to 38. One of the sort of key hidden pieces to any aggressive build order like this is look at the chrono boost on the probes. I open up the unit tab to show that he's ahead by 14. Jesus, he's ahead by 12. Wow, he's ahead by 12 workers. Maths. He's ahead by 12 workers, and that's because as this attack is going on, He's limited by how quickly he can warp in. All the rest of these funds are being dumped in there. This is the hidden edge to almost every single aggressive build that Protosses will be doing against Terran, is the worker edge. It's very easy to get obsessed with all the cool chrono timings on warp gates or Colossus and this, that, and the other. Or forges, I think, are the biggest one. But here it's on probes. We also must note to ourselves that this Terran player will soon have Marine Marauder and some Medivacs, likely. And we don't have any AoE stuff. We've got to make absolutely certain that we can face that accordingly. Some more Zealots being warped in from all sides. Some target firing to kill off mules and workers. Double Forge, really smart. Why is that? Aggression. Protoss units are expensive as hell. They build very quickly for how much they cost. You can burn a lot of money on them. Upgrades don't really require that much money when you compare it to something like Colossus tech. Colossus tech takes a lot of money. I mean, a Colossus is basically 300, 200 every minute. But this is 200, 200, and then it will constantly build for like 2 minutes. So Hero's not winning, but inevitably, invariably, in any one of these types of attacks, where we're doing a whole lot of pressure like this, the Terran player will hit a point where he equalizes really hard, because Terran's infrastructure is very well developed, Protoss infrastructure not nearly as well developed. So some cool play by Elige getting the Tenku up, but I especially love the getting of these forges up quite early. Still warping in the backside. Mothership Core still hanging out there. Mothership Core was hanging in the back also as an opportunity to recall if need be. But again, an intelligent use of our money by getting this double upgrade up so fast. Generally Zealot Archon or something Twilight Council focused. It's going to make a little bit more sense because we need to get this up anyways. And amazingly, Hero's doing something that it makes sense, but it is still just stupidly bold. I will note that biggest thing that I think Hero's done this game is the chrono boosting of the probes constantly to be at, geez, 52 already. And the addition of these two forges as his primary thing. Now what has he noted? Ah, my opponent has a low amount of units. He must either defend, or if he attacks, he's attacking with pretty much everything. It's really easy, I think, in this circumstance. Well, actually, even more bluntly, what I would do in this circumstance is just kind of go back to the usual. I'd be like, all right, well, let me get my Colossus up, and let me get my Zealot's leg speed and all this jazz. But Hero's going to do something swift. Going to do something all ninjetti. Oh, you hear that bird outside my window? Oh, that guy's the bird of the day. Can you hear that bird? He's so happy. I love him. So everything Hero has in the main base is the same generic infrastructure that's there. The Colossus coming out, all the warp gates, soon to start 2-2. But this is a sort of tactic that Hero isn't just doing. He's identified his opponent is going to have to be really focused on the defense at the front. In particular, Hero has a lot of vision because he has his observers that were built early to detect the Widow Mines. And now he's going to do one of these really cool guaranteed damage sort of pressures. The first set of aggression that Hero was doing was sort of freeform, was kind of like, oh wow, I'm seeing the opportunity, I'm going to do another warp-in. Wow, I'm still seeing the opportunity, going to do the other warp-in. This is Hero saying, okay, I see the opportunity to begin this drop, and once again we're going to see these sort of phases of the drop go down. First targeting the stem, not a full warp-in. We can actually select these and see that a lot of these gateways will be available in about half time. But he doesn't need to warp in all of them. He just needs to get some high priority targets. Just getting a little bit of defense, not going crazy with the expanding. This is like really sweet to watch. But Hero hasn't warped in another set of guys. We even pointed out that there were 3 warp-ins available. Just a little bit to kill off some add-ons. Keep our opponent back. Emphasizing the upgrades. Why? Because upgrades need a lot of time to finish, but not exactly a lot of money. All these attacks are doing a lot of time buying. Zealot leg speed makes sense. Often players will be opting to get Blink almost always first in this matchup because of the fact that the medevac is so damn fast. But very simply, Hero looks at this army, even looked at the starport without a reactor, and was like, okay, I don't really need to worry about drops that much. A single mothership core will suffice. At any time, Dark Shrine, right? Still doing these just gorgeous pylon peppering. Just applying a little bit of pylons to his Neoplanet S salad. And then an attack. And a crushing utter defeat. Zealot leg speed is not done. Ooh. Bop. In that game, we essentially saw some critical techniques for what was going on back home with the buildings. The delay of the Colossus makes a lot of sense. The emphasis on the upgrades in the Twilight Council makes a lot of sense. And then suddenly, throwing in this Warp Prism makes a lot of sense. But it's all built upon this first set of attacks that began at the absolute outset of the game. Very often, you'll see a player with a bunker at the front. Right when you arrive, you can't get through it. You have 2 stalkers and a mothership core, so you're like, well, alright, whatever. I'm going to go home and do other things. And that's probably when you'd see a normal play from Hero. But again, seeing all the stuff on the high ground and just going like, let's go in and just get ourselves the insta-gateways. Apply a lot of pressure. Wow, the pressure's working. Keep going. Chrono Boost probes. Really, really cool play. Opportunities, but getting more opportunities. Because aggressive games appear so freeform, we're going to look at another aggressive game in part 2, one that's quite a bit more complicated now that we've sort of said a little bit of foundationing stuff here. And we'll see how Hero's play, even though it falters quite hard, still forces our opponent to respond in certain ways. Because if we can force our opponent into a smaller set of possible responses, we have a much simpler problem to solve. Be back in 3 minutes with part 2. This is me, guys. Come on, guys. Wait for part 2, guys. Come on. We're having fun, aren't we? Yeah.